Hi, Amelia. Thanks for your patience. I was all set to go, and then my puppy had to go out to go potty, so I
Oh, I
had
totally
to
get it.
pop out for a second. All righty. Well, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. How was your Christmas?
It was amazing. Yeah, it was a good
Oh,
time.
good. I'm so glad to hear that. Do you guys have any especially fun holiday traditions that you guys always do, or like things that are your favorite traditions?
Well, every Christmas Eve we spend with my dad's side of the family, and then I sing at two different churches.
Oh,
And then
fun.
yeah, Christmas Day is spent with my mom's side of the family. So it's just kind of a
Aw.
family-filled holiday, so it's really nice.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. That's awesome. And it's also fun that you have an opportunity to share your gift too,
Yeah.
to take something that you love and be able to share that and connect with people that way. I love that. Oh, that's awesome. I love it. So, and two, like you said, you get to spend time with both sides of the family. My
Yeah.
family, were in very different places, so we divided holidays. So we would be with my mom's parents up in Minnesota for Christmas and 4th of July, and then we'd go see my dad's family for Easter and Thanksgiving. So we would kind of
Oh, wow.
split the holidays
Yeah.
because they were up in Minnesota and then down in Alabama. So
Man.
so there were not holidays where we were, all
No.
together
Yeah.
because they were far, far away from each other.
Right.
But yeah, it was still fun. We had
Good.
some fun traditions. Alrighty, so as we're diving in today, I thought we could maybe reflect on some things that we worked on last time,
Okay.
things that were really helpful, that stuck with you, that really resonated with you, and then also kind of thinking about what are other ways that you feel like you could continue to improve, or areas that you feel like maybe you're a little weaker in that you want to strengthen. So, I've got my notes on my thoughts too, but kind of your reflections on what we did last time. What was helpful to you from that session?
Okay. I think that the definitely the thing that helped the most was like picking an emotion. Like
Mm.
this is how I'm gonna read it. Um,
Yeah.
because I did a couple monologues like from Cinderella, and I don't
Mhm.
necessarily know how they're supposed to be read because I couldn't find any like long monologues for Ella. So,
Okay.
but I feel like it kind of made it easier to just do a blind read of the monologues. I think
Yeah,
that.
so the cold reads, yeah, that those just having that experience of taking something, you haven't seen, you haven't been able to prepare for, and just kind of glancing through it, making a strong choice and
Mhm.
going for it. Yeah, it's kind of like sight reading as a musician.
Yeah.
If you were given, sight singing to do, and you go, all right, here we go. And the only real way to get better at it is to just keep doing it.
Mhm.
And the biggest advice I can give you is make a strong choice for that character. So, glance through it, see what's going on, pick an emotion, pick something you're going after, and then just go for it and make a strong choice. So if it's a weak choice, it's going to make less of an impression. So I find that when you make a strong choice, it leaves more of an impression. It grabs their attention. In auditions, we really want to stand out and we want to be memorable in a good way, obviously.
Right.
But if I read through and I'm just kind of like, I'm reading the lines off the page, that's not going to make that big of an impression. But if I make a strong choice, even if it's not the choice they maybe would have chosen as a director, they go, oh, okay, at least it's an interesting choice. It's
Right.
something
Yeah.
that'll spark their interest. So making a strong choice. And then if they do give you feedback and say, hey, can you try it this way? Even if you go, I thought I just did it that way, make some kind of change to show that you are listening, you are directable, you can change, you're flexible. So, if they said, hey, can you be a little bit more heartbroken about that? And you think, I thought I was, you
Mhm.
know, and maybe they saw it and they instead saw more frustration or something, right? And so you make a change of some kind, just to show that you're directable. So strong choices and just kind of making a big choice and then going for it is, I think, the best thing I can say. And even if you like flub up a line, it's an audition. So this is your opportunity to be creative, to take chances, to try something. And even if you try it and you go, that didn't quite work.
Yeah.
It's okay because you can just take two, try it again, you know. And so and you never know, you might try something and go, that didn't feel great, but then they go, that was awesome. So I
Hmm.
can't tell you how many times I have felt like something was not my best and then had people afterwards be like, "Oh my gosh, that was beautiful work," or "Wow, that was so moving," and I'm just like, "Oh, great, I'm glad you enjoyed it." And like you'll have days where maybe you feel off that other people see it and they're like, that was great.
Hmm.
Um, so like I've learned that you bring your best to the performance every day, every time, and every audition is a performance. It's a chance to perform, it's a chance to experiment, it's a chance to share your art. So taking big, bold chances with those cold reads, I think is really helpful. Um, yeah, it's really nice when they give you the material ahead and you can prepare.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a lot of auditions, you get them when you get there, or maybe they email it to you late the night before and you don't see it till that morning, and then you have to be there in an hour. And so it can be tricky to prepare
Mhm.
thoroughly and to feel really confident and competent. So I think it's learning to embrace the uncertainty and to have fun with it all at the same time. All right, so you said you had a little bit of trouble finding exactly what you were looking for as far as the monologues, but I think also it doesn't have to be exactly that character. It could be a similar character. So when we're thinking about, similar characters, right? So defining characteristics of that character is one place to look. I also like to look at things like who played this character in the past and what other characters have they played, because that might be a good way to look at it. Um, Also, if there's a certain like writer and I go, okay, what else have they written? And then I try to find similar characters and other things they've written, right?
Mhm.
So, for instance, if I'm auditioning for Hamilton and I go, okay, I don't want to use like a song from that. What else has this composer written? And then I go, oh, okay, I could do something from Encanto, you know? And
Mhm.
then maybe that'll have a similar thing, or In the Heights, right? So I go, what can be kind of similar vibes? And as far as like the same artist, let's say I'm auditioning for Wicked and I want to play Galinda. So I could use My New Philosophy from You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, because Kristen Chenoweth also played that. So then that would be kind of a similar energy and vibe to like Popular. So looking at things that are similar can also be a great way to approach that. And
Mhm.
also, I think for cold reading, if you just do the exact same character over and over again, I think that you're doing yourself a disservice
Mhm.
because you can challenge yourself in new ways to really think on your feet if you throw, random things at yourself. So I think experimenting with random cold reads can be helpful too. So for this character, what are some defining characteristics? How would you describe them personality wise? Um, Maybe life experience, types of situations they're in. So, how about personality? Like, how do you think? And I like to think, like, how would they describe themselves? How would their parents describe them? How would their best friend describe them? So that I can get like different perspectives as well. So, what are some defining characteristics of our character?
Cinderella.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, in my own little corner, she says she's mild and meek. Like
Hmm.
she's kind of timid. Um,
And keep in mind, a character can be different things at different times. So
right.
maybe she's like mild and meek and timid with her stepmother, but maybe her relationship with her fairy godmother is different. Maybe her
Mhm.
relationship with the prince is different. Maybe her relationship with the little animals in her house is different, right?
Right.
So when she's like petting her dog or something, their relationship might be different. So,
Mhm.
So keep that in mind too. So mild and meek and timid, absolutely. Um, her relationship with her dad would have been different than with her stepmother, right?
Hmm.
So mild, meek, timid. Um, I think of her as a genuinely kind person.
Yeah.
Um, I think she is someone who acquiesces a lot, so who kind of like gives in. Um, so I feel like you could see her as weak in some ways, but in other ways, I see her as really strong
Hmm.
because no matter what, she still is kind. She still works hard. She still is giving. Um, So I feel like some people could see her like I can't imagine seeing like the Princess and Brave or Mulan, doing what Cinderella does.
Yeah.
I just am like I can never imagine them, you know, going for it. So I feel like her ability to I mean, she stays up late, she gets up early, she takes care of
Hmm.
everything in this house, she takes care of her stepmom and stepsisters. So she's like very much a caretaker.
Hmm.
Um, and I see that as being someone who's very strong
Hmm.
because I mean, I don't think I could do what she does.
No.
I would be exhausted.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have the energy to be nice after all that. I'd be like throwing the sponge at their face and being like, you
Mm.
clean it yourself.
You do that, yeah.
Um, but at the same time, she might be scared of repercussions. Like,
Hmm.
if she doesn't listen, will she be thrown out of the house? Will she be
Hmm.
homeless? You know? So, so what do you think, like other defining characteristics? I feel like the fairy tale kind of glosses over that, but I do kind of see this as a very abusive situation.
Yeah.
And I do think she probably feels like she doesn't have any other choices,
Hmm.
that she's like, I have to do this because I don't have any other option.
Yeah.
And if I don't, then I could be thrown out in the street. And there really, at this time, are not any good options for people who
Right.
are thrown out in the street, right? So, she's just in a hard situation. But in spite of that, I think she does stay like loving and hopeful. And she tries to be the kind of person her dad would be proud of.
Hmm.
Um, so kind of like the character in A Little Princess, no matter what hard things come her way, she still is like, I'm gonna be kind and I'm gonna, still be noble in my heart and do
Hmm.
the things that I think a princess would do. So it's like people mock her by calling her a little princess, but she's like, even though my dad's dead, even though all our money is gone, even though I now am basically just like a slave in this house. She's like, I'm still going to be kind. I'm still going to be respectful. I'm still going to do my best. And I kind of see Cinderella like that she's just like, I'm going to do the best with where I'm at, and I'm going to find joy where I can. And I feel like that's really brave, you
Yeah.
know? So, what kind of words could you use to describe that kind of a person?
Um, I'm gonna go a bit of a different route really quick, just so I don't
Sure.
lose it. But like you mentioned
Yeah.
the animals, I feel like with that she's very nurturing. Like especially like at the end of
Nurturing.
the movie,
Yes.
um, it's like they're kind of all she has, so she's gotta
Yeah.
take care of them.
She
But
says in the song that she's obedient, right?
mhm.
She says, when I hear a command, I obey. Mm.
I feel like she also seems like adventurous,
Yeah,
but she just
that
can't
she wants
keep
to.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like Belle, who like sings about like, oh, I want adventure. Like
Hmm.
Cinderella really wants to be able to experience more in life, see more, go
Yeah.
places. And she's like, this is my lot in life. So
Yeah.
she's imaginative and sort
Yes.
of takes herself on adventures in her mind. Okay, that's a good one. Other thoughts. I think she's playful. Like if she does in her, spare time go be imaginative, have adventures in her corner. I see
Yeah.
that as being very playful.
Mhm.
Um, other thoughts, other ideas. So we've got mild and meek, timid, kind, caretaker, nurturing, obedient, adventurous, imaginative, playful. I
Did you
see
put
her as
brave on there?
brave. Okay.
Brave.
I see her as like very hardworking as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. So we've got some really good descriptive words. Um, I think that you can kind of see her like the way you would see a mom, where
Hmm.
it's like, or like a homemaker, somebody who, basically dedicates their life to their family and like raising them, taking care of the home, and seeing that as like someone who's really strong, and loving and giving and caretaking and, holding it all together, keeping everyone organized. Like I kind of see Cinderella like that she's a different kind of strong than like Moana or Merida,
Yeah.
um, that she has like a more quiet inner strength to her.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like too Cinderella kind of gets a bad rap for being like a fluff princess, but I actually see her as being a pretty strong character.
Hmm.
Okay, so awesome. And I think too, when you're approaching a character, we always want to be really kind to them
Hmm.
and try to understand them fully. So, really good job there. Okay, so you mentioned that the cold reads are really helpful. So, I want to dive back in there. So, the characters who are similar was one thing I had mentioned. So, if you think of Cinderella, who are maybe some similar characters? Maybe characters who I feel like Belle could be kind of similar. She kind of takes care of her dad, who's like a mad scientist, like
Yeah.
kooky inventor. She also longs for adventure.
Yeah.
She's imaginative. She reads books all the time. Um, I do see her, she's got a better situation than Cinderella for sure. But I
Right.
do feel like Belle can be pretty similar, especially like when she's with the Beast, like she's locked in a tower and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
um, I definitely feel like Belle could be a similar character. Who are some other characters you can think of that might be similar, have similar characteristics?
I feel like in the terms of like the mild and meek, like Dorothy, like I feel
Sure,
like Dorothy's very
yeah.
innocent and like doesn't really.
Yeah. That's a good one. I like that. Um, I was thinking maybe Thumbelina, like she gets forced
Mhm.
into an adventure, but I feel like she has some similar characteristics to
Yeah.
her. Um, what about Sleeping Beauty? She definitely has like a different situation. She's been extremely sheltered. But
Yeah.
I feel like because of that, she does feel kind of isolated and she does want more adventures. And like she has those relationships with the woodland animals and
Mhm.
and she does probably feel kind of stuck, like she's never seen a man ever. She only knows
Yeah.
three fairies that take care of her, right?
Mhm.
So she's like, oh, I have my aunts, and it's just me and them and the animals.
Mhm.
So I feel like she probably has some similar.
Mhm. And from that angle, I feel like Rapunzel maybe, like she's
Sure, yeah.
kind of the same
Mhm.
thing, like isolated, longs for adventure.
Yeah, that they're kind of stuck.
Yeah, she
And
kind of sneaks out and does it anyways.
right. Yeah, but for a long time, Rapunzel is just in the tower, you know, doing as she's told, staying in place, being safe in the tower,
Mhm.
all on her lonesome. Um, yeah, so I think a lot of similar traits. Mm, I feel like Snow White a little bit, like she ends up kind of taking care of the dwarves, but then they also take care of her. She has like found family. Um, But then also it's like she's banished. She can't go home. She has to pretend to be dead. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so I feel like she could be another similar character with
Yeah.
similar characteristics. And then I also just mentioned like a mom, random mom, just like being a caretaker, loving others, taking care of them, being that like quiet, strong figure. So
Mhm.
then you can find scripts then with these kind of characters who are similar. And then you
Mhm.
can explore different things, and you might even stumble upon something that you go, oh, I could use that for
Mhm.
Cinderella, and give her a little bit of a different energy or perspective. Every single character, different people will play them differently. So if you
Right.
were cast as Cinderella or I was cast as Cinderella, we're going to portray them very differently. It reminds me of Philadelphia Story in undergrad. Um, Elizabeth was cast as the main character. And she did it very much like Katharine Hepburn. Like I felt like she, watched Katharine Hepburn in the movie and just very much embodied Katharine
Mhm.
Hepburn and played it very much like Katharine Hepburn did. Then my friend Christina was the understudy and they gave her a performance as well. And when Christina did it, it was a very different portrayal of the main character, but I saw the story and the character so much differently by
Mhm.
her playing it, because she put so much of herself into it. And it was
Right.
really like a magical experience. And the character came alive to me in all these new ways. And I really loved her portrayal. And I thought, oh, like, it just totally changed the way that I saw the story and the character. Um,
Mhm.
so I really love that. Thoroughly Modern Millie, same thing. Millie was played by two different people. They had two casts and had like alternating days. Um, and one of the casts. I feel like the singing was better, but it was a little bit of a like slower pace, um, and a little more like romantic. And
Yeah.
then the other cast, the singing wasn't as strong, but the acting was like very snappy and fast. And like on top of it, it felt a little bit like His Girl Friday, how it's like such fast, like back and forth banter. And it was portrayed just very differently. And I felt like it had that kind of like New York City energy to it. So it's really fun to be able to see different people playing
Mhm.
the same character because it just you see the story in a completely new light. And you're like, oh, okay. And it brings it alive in a completely new way. So this is something I really, enjoy about theater is that different people can bring different elements of themselves into it. So I'm excited to see how you're going to portray these different characters and Cinderella as well. Okay, so let's play with Belle first. So we're going to look at some of these different characters that are similar. And I'm just going to give you a cold read. So you'll have to kind of glance through and see what's my circumstance? Where is the character in this moment? Um, what's going on in this moment? Who are they talking to? Where are they? What are they up to? That kind of thing. All right. So this one. I feel like is, before she goes and lives with the beast for sure, that she's just like in her small town with her dad. And she's like, she's comfortable, she's satisfied, but at the same time, she wants more. She wants adventure. She wants to explore. And she like feels like she can't really relate to anyone in the town. Um, so maybe it's like her dad is like, you don't seem very happy. Are you okay? And then she's like, Dad, I know you're happy here, but like, I need more than this,
Mhm.
you know? Um, and I mean, he explores, he takes his inventions to different, fairs and things. So, um, but I feel like he's very probably protective of her because he's like, you stay home, like, you take care of the animals, that kind of thing. I feel like she could also be talking to like the family horse or something.
Yeah.
She's like brushing him in the barn. So I like to pick like where is she? Who's she talking to? How does she feel about that person? And then what triggered her to say this? So, maybe she just got proposed to by Gaston and she's like, ew, no. And
Yeah.
then her dad's like, why would you not accept that? Like, it seems like a good option for you. And she's like, Dad, there's got to be more than this, you
Hmm.
know? So, like, giving yourself a person she's talking to, a place you are, and what she's reacting to, and then what it is she wants. So I think, like, in that situation, I'd be wanting my dad to affirm me or be like, yeah, you know what? Good for you. Like, hold out for something better. Like, encouragement and confirmation, like a stamp of approval, that kind of thing. Um, so you can figure out your own scenario or you can use the one I came up with. So I like to just kind of glance through it, pick my situation that they're in, like craft a circumstance for myself. And then I like to just kind of put myself in their shoes, be like, okay, if I was this character living in their world, how would I say this? Right? What would I genuinely do in this situation? Yeah. All right. So, taking kind of a glance through, you're going to craft a circumstance for yourself. And then I want you to try just giving it a go, give it a read through.
Okay. You want me to just read it or?
Yeah.
Okay. There must be more than this. This small, predictable life. Day in and day out. Same faces, the same routines. Don't get me wrong, there's comfort in it, a sort of rhythm that hums quietly in the background. But comfort isn't enough, is it? Not for me. I read these stories of far off places, daring sword fights and enchanted castles, and I feel it deep in my heart, a pull, as if something out there is calling me, whispering, come, discover, explore. But no one here understands. They laugh, shake their heads, and say, Belle, why can't you just be happy with what you have? I don't know. Maybe I'm foolish to dream of something different, something more. Or maybe they're the ones who are blind, trapped in a world they've stopped questioning. But I won't stop questioning. I won't stop dreaming. Somewhere out there is a world waiting to be found, and one day, one day I'll find it.
Nice. Good. Excellent. All right. So, then what I would say, my advice to you would be just add intensity. So you're going to hear comments like raise the stakes or, can you, add like, 10 times the energy. And what they're saying is intensify that. So if my character is feeling, hmm, they're feeling maybe reminiscent or like a little bit, they're thinking about their mom who passed away or something. And they're like, oh, yeah, I kind of miss her. Instead, making it like, I am desperately longing for a mother's comfort, So
Mhm.
like raising that stake, making it higher. So instead of like, oh, like my train leaves at 9 and I have to, get there so I can get to my vacation, instead making it like I have been waiting for this vacation for 10 years. I cannot miss that train. Ugh, it's a non-refundable ticket. I don't have the money for another one, and I have got to get out of town, right? Because I
Mhm.
have like, I'm up to here with how much I can take, and I need a break,
Mhm.
So making it more of an intensified feeling. So what I would advise is just making everything a little bit bigger than you think it should be. So like instead of like, there must be more than this, make it more like, there must be more than this, right? And then like, I read these stories of far off places where like, I read these stories of far off places, like it gets you really excited, you know?
Mhm.
Or, but no one here understands. No one here understands, right? Or like, maybe I'm foolish. Maybe I'm foolish to dream, right? So just everything a little stronger, but like, but I won't stop questioning, but I won't stop questioning. Like, just make everything a little more energized, right? So like you just had 4 shots of espresso or you're on a big sugar high. Like think of how much more energy you'd be like pouring into it in this moment. So I kind of relate it to, so I did swim team growing up for 10 years. I was really into it. So um it's like you sit around for hours waiting for your race. And
Mhm.
then you get up there and you have like 30 seconds to a minute to just like put all of your energy into
Oh
this,
yeah.
like, go, you know? And then it's over and you wait around another hour for your next race, right? Um,
Mhm.
and so I see it kind of like that. Like auditions are a little bit like that, where it's like you're there, you're calm, you're waiting, just sort of chilling. And then you have this like 1 minute to get in there and be like, everything I got, you know? So just I would say just kind of raise the stakes or think of like 10 timesing the energy and just make it bigger. If it was film, it can be smaller. We don't lose the intensity though. It's smaller and more still. Our body's more still and the energy's all right here. But for stage theater, it has to be your whole body engaging in that story. So just bigger, larger than life. You're performing to that person 5,000 seats away in the balcony, the second or third balcony. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's try it one more time and just intensify it, bigger, bolder.
There must be something more than this. This small, predictable life. Day in and day out, the same faces, the same routines. Don't get me wrong, there's comfort in it, a sort of rhythm that hums quietly in the background, but comfort isn't enough, is it? Not for me. I read these stories of far off places, daring sword fights and enchanted castles, and I feel it deep in my heart, a pull, as if something out there is calling me, whispering, come discover, explore. But no one here understands. They laugh, shake their heads, and say, Belle, why can't you just be happy with what you have? I don't know. Maybe I'm foolish to dream of something different, something more. Or maybe they're the ones who are blind, trapped in a world they've stopped questioning. But I won't stop questioning. I won't stop dreaming. Somewhere out there is a world waiting to be found, and one day I'll find it.
Nice. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I would say that first take could be a little bit more like film-like, and then the
Mm-hmm.
second take was a little more theatrical.
Okay.
Excellent. All right, so now we're gonna try one for Dorothy. Clearly she's talking to Toto because she directly addresses him. So that's one thing answered for us. But then where do you think we are? So she says, let's go home. So maybe she's not home yet. So maybe like she could still be in the Emerald City, like about to get on the hot air balloon. She could be like in a field. They landed in Kansas, but she's still not quite home yet. Um, she could have like done everything the wizard asked her to, and she's like, wow, I thought I wanted all this, but I really miss home, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think?
I feel like maybe the air balloon like just took off. Like she missed it and was like, oh crap, like I'm not
Yeah.
gonna get home. But then like she realized that the fairy godmother, or not fairy godmother, I'm stuck on Cinderella.
Yeah.
Like Glinda could get her home.
I love it. Yeah. So she just missed it. And how
Mm-hmm.
would you feel watching that balloon go away?
It's like you lost everything that you ever knew. Like just like
Yeah.
right.
So maybe like despair.
Yeah,
because it's like, oh my gosh, everything I care about just left.
like
And
she's
all I have
crushed.
left is Toto. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So just totally crushed. And yeah, yeah, I like that. And then like you have that revelation, like, maybe Galinda can help us. Let's go
Mhm.
home, Toto. Let's go find her. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get like a switch in
Mhm.
there. It's gonna change, which is another thing I like to add always. So there should be like a beginning, middle, and end. So at the beginning, it's that despair. And then at the end, it's gonna be like that hope, like
Mhm.
we can go home. Galinda can help us. Let's go, Toto.
Mhm.
Um, but then in the middle, maybe it's like more like longing,
Mhm.
like love. So it's like, oh no, we just lost everything. But then in the middle, like being really thankful and remembering the people and the things you loved and, that longing for them. But then like having that switch where it's like, we have hope, Toto. We can do this. Let's go find Galinda. There are options. We're gonna get home. So having that strong beginning, middle, and end of some kind and showing us those shifts. Okay,
Mhm.
let's try that.
Toto, I always thought the grass was greener somewhere else. That if I could just get away out of Kansas, I'd find adventure and excitement waiting for me. And I did. Oh, I really did. I saw things I never dreamed of. Talking scarecrows, lions with courage, witches, magic, and the Emerald City. But you know what's funny? All those wonders, all that magic, it just made me miss home. There's something about Kansas, about Aunt Em and Uncle Henry, the sound of wind in the fields and the way the sun sets over the horizon. I didn't see it before, but there's a kind of magic in that too. I guess you can chase rainbows all you like, but sometimes everything you're searching for is right where you started. You just have to open your eyes to see it. Toto, let's go home. There's no place like home, is it? Or is it there?
Hmm. Nice. Good. All right. So, very good. I thought that was a really good read through, first
Thank
read
you.
through, especially. So, what were the things you liked about it? What went well there?
Um, I like that I kind of knew where to break it up with like this is what emotion I'm doing here. Like you talked
Mhm.
about beginning, middle, and end. Um,
Yes.
I just feel like that definitely helps because it gives you
Yeah.
like you said a goal.
Right. Yeah, and it also I think doing the cold read it can be really difficult because you haven't had time to prepare to
Mhm.
showcase all the different emotions. And in an audition, the goal is showing them as much as you can in that short time frame. So, I want to show them like what I look like when I'm happy, what I look like when I'm sad, what I look like when I'm scared, what I look like when I'm angry. And I
Mhm.
need them to see, as much of what I can do as possible in that moment. So
Mhm.
I don't even always do it the way I would in the show. It's more of I need to show them everything I got,
What I can
in this
do, yeah.
short time. Exactly what I can do. Exactly. So I feel like having that beginning, middle, and end, I get to show them three distinct different things, which is really good for the audition process. So yeah, I love that. Good. All right. So let's take a look at Thumbelina. So glancing through, who do we think she could be talking to? So she's talking about being small and the world being big. I feel like she could be talking to like her mom that finds her in the flower. She could
Mhm.
be talking to like, one of her friends on her journey. She could be talking to, like a prince she falls in love with. Um, so what do you think? Who do you think she could be talking to here?
Honestly, I've never seen it, but
Yeah. So
I hear it.
she is a very tiny little person who is born out of a flower, basically out of her mother's love. So this woman really wants to like be a mama and she has beautiful plants and things and she grows them and and then she like plants a flower and then when it blooms, Thumbelina comes out of it. So, and then she has
Okay.
like her little girl. Um, literally little girl. And they
Yeah.
have a beautiful little life, taking care of animals and like a happy little home. But then Thumbelina gets kidnapped by a frog who is not a prince.
Okay.
And then she goes on a grand adventure, basically trying to get back home, like kind of like Dorothy. Um,
Okay, yeah.
and along the way, she like falls in love, and he seems like a peasant person, but he's actually a prince. So he's kind of like goes off on his own little adventures and acts like a normal person, but she has like a few weird experiences, like the frogs try to like make her marry them, and then like she has like this
Okay.
beetle or someone who tries to force her to marry them. So she just keeps going through weird things with like weird animals who want to marry her. And she's like, "No thanks, bye," and escapes. But then she falls in love with another tiny little person who's a fairy. He's like a fairy prince. And she's like, "You're tiny like me." And they're kind of perfect, but then they like still, she gets to like be back connected with her mom, and she finds her true love and everything. So, um, yeah, she goes through an interesting experience. And yeah,
Since
I
she's
feel
already
like,
said like escape from danger, I feel like she could probably be talking to the fairy that you said.
sure,
Like
yeah, like she's
kind
escaped
of
from the
honest.
beetle man or something, and then she's like found this because the prince, like, he's just in like normal clothes, like he doesn't seem like a prince, he seems like a normal dude. So
Hmm.
it could just be like her new friend that she's like sharing with, because she's like, "You seem safe and
Yeah.
nice," and maybe he helped rescue her from the beetle prince or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a long time since I saw it, like
Yeah. I need to watch it.
decades. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fun movie. I think it's very fun. All right, yeah. So she could be talking to him, and and like I'm sure she misses her mom. She misses
Hmm.
home. She misses all the animals. And like being comfortable. She's been just like surviving out in nature in the wild for a while now.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think like I feel like feeling small, like maybe she feels kind of like powerless,
Hmm.
and just like really longing for all these things because she even says powerless later on.
Hmm.
Um, but like the end, she seems very determined that
Yeah.
she's like tenacious. So yeah, so I think like that beginning, middle, and end, thinking of what you want to showcase about her character for each of those. Like she talks about dreaming in the middle, so like very hopeful. Um, so maybe like at the beginning, more like sad about it, like
Hmm.
why am I so small? Or like frustrated by it. In the
Hmm.
middle, like she's dreaming about it, and she's like, I see, the birds, and like, and they have a place to be, and like, where do I fit? But like,
Hmm.
I dream of finding that, and then like at the end being like more determined, like I don't want to be powerless. I want to find my place and be strong, even though I'm tiny.
Yeah.
So having that evolution of the character.
Okay.
Yeah, so beginning, middle, and end, and she's found a friend to share with that she feels safe and comfortable with. Yeah. All
Okay.
right, let's try it.
Sometimes I wonder why I was made so small. The world is so big, so full of things I'll never be able to reach. Everyone around me seems to have a place they belong. Birds in the sky, frogs in the pond, even the tiniest ants have a purpose. But me, I don't know where I fit. Oh, how I dream of finding others like me. Someone who wouldn't see me as fragile or strange, but as enough. Someone who'd take my hand, even if it's small, and show me a world where I'm not so out of place. But maybe being small doesn't mean I'm powerless. I've come this far, haven't I? I've flown on the back of a bird, escaped from danger, and followed the sound of my heart when everything told me not to. That has to mean something. I may be small, but I'm strong. And one day I'll find my place. I'll find someone who looks at me not as tiny, but as whole. Until then, I'll keep dreaming.
Yeah. I feel like you brought like a very strong character, like strong female lead energy to her. That was really nice. Um, that she's like, I may be tiny, but I am fierce, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, she's come through a lot. So, like,
Yeah.
at this point, especially, I feel like her being like, dang it, I have survived this and this and this. I'm gonna find my way, you know?
Mhm,
So
yeah.
I really think that was appropriate to this character in this moment. Excellent. All right, so we're gonna try. This is Sleeping Beauty. All right, so with this one, she knows about the curse that's on her. She's reflecting on like the kiss. She says she's not scared and she does feel hopeful. So maybe like she could be talking to her aunts or something.
Mhm,
Like maybe they're like, we have to protect you, we have to keep you safe. And she's like, guys, I know about it all. Like maybe, the evil witch found her in the woods and told her everything or something,
mhm,
you know? And she's like, or she found like the declaration that her dad sent out to be like, all the spindles must be destroyed. And she's like, guys, I know about it. And like, it's okay. I'm gonna be
mhm.
okay. Like, and they're just like super sheltering her, and she's like, I gotta live my life.
Yeah.
You know, so she has discovered the truth of the situation, you know, and this is what she says. So you're going to pick like who she's talking to, where they are in this moment, and what triggered this. And then what are her emotions that she's showing? It's a little bit of a shorter clip, but we can still do that beginning, middle, and end. Like, I know the truth. That could be, confronting them in that moment. And how do you feel about being cursed and knowing that? Like, are you shocked? Are you sad? Are you angry about it? Are you
Mhm,
scared? Um, and then, like she's very like, I don't fear the sleep. I fear waking and finding that my life has passed me by. I
mhm,
feel like she's very insightful here. There's a lot of vulnerability in this script. Um, and then like at the end, like she's like, I still have to be hopeful.
mhm.
So like showing that hope and joy at the end. So what do you think her emotions would be here at the beginning, middle, and end?
I think overall she's just kind of like coming to terms with it. She's kind of accepting it, like you said. Like, I
Hmm.
know the truth. Like, it's okay. But I
Hmm.
think, I mean, it says I hold on to hope. So at the end, she's still hopeful, like,
Yeah.
because she has to be. Like, she
I
doesn't
do
want to
think
lose her entire
also
life.
she clearly is afraid because she says, like, I don't
Hmm.
fear this, but I do fear that. So you can
Hmm.
showcase that in the middle. So at the
She's kind of a
beginning,
little vulnerable.
yeah, if somebody like was like, hey, you're cursed, how would you feel about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, it's like, it is scary. Obviously, she has something to fear because she knows it's coming.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah. Maybe like at the beginning, even though you're saying like I know the truth, I feel like you could be looking to them to confirm it. Like, is this real?
hmm
Like, I mean, I know this, but like, is this real life? Like looking to them, like for that, like, okay, is this a real thing?
hmm
And am I gonna be okay? Like,
yeah.
I feel like you could be looking to them to be like comforting to you in this really weird moment where you just found out about the curse.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's try it.
I know the truth. A curse, a spindle, a sleep so deep that even time itself cannot wake me. How strange that my life would hinge on a single moment, on the kiss of someone I've yet to meet. I, I don't fear the sleep. I fear waking to find that my life has passed me by, that my dreams were all I had, and the world is not as kind as the one I've imagined. Still, I hold on to hope, because what is life without it?
Yeah, yeah. I felt almost like in a way you're comforting them.
Mm,
That you're like, I'm gonna be okay. And yeah,
Yeah.
like if I do fall asleep and I wake up 1,000 years later and you're gone, that'll be awful, but I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Because she does end up on her birthday, like going back to her parents in the kingdom and stuff. So this could be
Mhm.
like right before that or something.
Mhm.
And being like, hey, it's gonna be okay. And like, yeah, of course I'm afraid. Of course there are things I'm scared of. I almost felt like you were comforting them, like reassuring them,
Yeah.
which was a little bit of a different perspective than any of the other monologues. So that was really nice. Good. Okay, so then this one is Rapunzel. Yeah. Maybe you have a pet cat or something, because who else would you be talking
Yeah.
to?
Pascal.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Your
Mhm.
pet lizard. Um, or it could be like when you just have met the man and you're like
Oh
talking to
yeah.
him through the window or something. Or he's climbed up and then this is like you talking to him, before you go on your adventure, but like he climbs up and you share this with him. So it could be your pet. It could be when you first meet a man who's human who you've never seen before.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. What's out there? Beyond the trees, beyond the hills. I've read about the world in books, seen it in the paintings. I've tried to recreate, but that's not enough. I want to feel the sun on my face, not just through the window. I want to touch the grass, run through a meadow, hear the sound of a river rushing past me. I want to live. Mother says the world is dangerous, but how would she know? She's never left this tower either. Or has she? I wonder, is she keeping me safe or keeping me here? No, no, I can't think like that. She loves me. I'm sure of it. But love shouldn't feel like a cage, should it?
Yeah, good. And I feel like the end, like you could really work on like when you ask a question, really ask it like, should it? Like you're looking to them, like, what's out there? Like really
Mhm.
be asking. So instead of like asking it rhetorically, I'm going to challenge you to try when you have a question to really ask the person you're talking
Okay.
to. Beyond the trees, beyond the hills, what is there? Right? Be asking them and like expecting an answer. How would she know? I mean, she doesn't go anywhere. Or does she? You know, like
Mhm.
really be um, asking those questions. So that's something I'm going to challenge you to work on
Okay.
is instead of like, or does she? Like rhetorical questions where you don't expect an answer, really look for an answer in those moments. Expect them to respond. That's going
Yeah.
to make your monologues a lot more active. All right, we're going to try one more. So this one is Snow White. It's a little bit longer. So she clearly is in the forest hiding at this point. Um, so she could be talking to the dwarves. They could be like, you've been with us for a while, but you still seem sad. Are you okay? And then you like say this, or it could be like, well, you're talking about like your mother you lost, um, and then like cruelty and beauty. And maybe they're like, you can stay with us forever. And you're like, no, no, I can't hide forever. You're like, someday I'm gonna have to, stand up to her and face her.
Mhm.
Um, and so I feel like I probably would do it like I was talking to the dwarves because I don't know who else she
Okay.
knows.
Yeah.
Um, and she's clearly
No one
already
else
like
to
living out in the
say.
woods. Um, and I would probably like, I found peace, I found friends, like saying that to them, like, I feel safe. So like
Mhm.
thanking them for that. So like, and you ask like, what did I ever do to her at the
Mhm.
beginning? So maybe like you had someone come through who was like, "Oh, it's gotten really bad. Like people are fleeing the kingdom and like
Mhm.
going out into the woods to hide because life has gotten so bad." Um, and that maybe stirs up these memories and emotions and being like, "Gosh, like, you know, life has gotten really bad. Like, and I ran from her and other people are running and she's so cruel and I don't understand and I really wanted to love her, and then being like, I'm safe, I'm at peace, but there are other people out there who are not. And I know
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to stand up to her and go back and like claim my birthright and like protect my kingdom. But she's like, but I'm not quite ready for that yet. I'm
Yeah.
still just a kid, you know? Um, so yeah, so I feel like there's a lot in this one. So you can show a lot. So I'm going to challenge you for this one to every time it's a new phrase. So every time there's a period or a question mark, you're going to have like every time you take a breath, you are going to have some kind of shift, a dramatic
Mhm.
shift. So that's going to be your like goal or rule for this time through. So every time you take a breath, have some kind of dramatic shift that happens in here. Okay, let's try it.
Okay. I never thought I'd have to run from the only home I've ever known. I still don't understand why she hates me so much. What did I ever do to her? The queen. She was supposed to care for me, to guide me after my mother was gone. But instead, she saw me as a threat, as if my existence somehow took something from her. It's hard to understand cruelty when your heart only wants to love. I don't wish her harm, not even after everything. I only wish she could see that beauty isn't about what's on the outside. It's kindness, compassion, the way you make others feel. Here in the forest, I've found peace, friends, and a kind of safety I never knew before. It's not the life I imagined, but it's mine now. And for the first time, I feel free, free to laugh, to sing, and to be myself. But I can't hide forever. Someday I'll have to face her, to find the strength to stand up to her darkness with my light. Till then, I'll keep hoping, keep believing that goodness will prevail. It has to.
Yeah, good. Excellent. Yeah, good. I feel like with that, you were able to explore a lot of different emotions because
Mhm.
every time you took a breath, you were taking like a shift. Or
Mhm.
so we call those like tactics or beat shifts or actors action words. It's all working on the same concept of it's like every phrase has a different action or emotion attached to it. So I could be, at the beginning, I could be maybe mm, confessing.
Mhm.
And then on the next line, I could be asking.
Mhm.
And then I could be like pleading, like she was supposed to care for me, right?
Mhm.
Um, and then I could be defying on like, but instead she saw me as a threat, right? So you have like different ways of approaching the same concept. So if people ever talk about tactics, doings, actors action words, it's all the same concept. So if you think of just every time I take a breath, it's like a new emotion or a new action in that next section, that new phrase, then that's going to keep it feeling really alive. So like I never thought I'd have to run from the only home I've ever known. I still don't understand why she hates me so much. What did I ever do to her? The queen. She was supposed to care for me, to guide me after my mother was gone. But instead, she saw me as a threat. So you hear how, like, every time I take a breath, I make a shift of some
Mhm.
kind. So that's something we can do to really keep the momentum up and keep it active, keep it changing and alive all the time, where it's not just one dimensional, but it
Okay.
feels like very active and it's like, what's going to happen next? And it leaves the audience really on the edge of their seat. Like, what are you going to say? What's going to happen? Like, they're like anticipating because they're like, I don't
Yeah.
know what you're going to do next. So that's
It's like a
another
roller
fun
coaster.
technique. Exactly. Yeah, you don't know what's
Mhm.
going to happen. So it's a fun technique you can use to keep something from getting stagnant or feeling
Mhm.
like it's just sort of plateauing. So that's another
Okay.
technique you can try. So for this week, it can be any character. I want you to
Okay.
practice cold reads, but for like any character. If you want to explore more characters that you feel like really relate to Cinderella, you know, I think you can do that too as well. So like obviously the other princesses, right, that we mentioned here, but I feel like
Yeah.
there are others as well. Like you could think of like Jane Eyre, or like Sarah Crewe from A Little Princess, who I mentioned earlier, maybe Eliza Doolittle, maybe like Anastasia is one we didn't talk about, Tatiana from The Princess and the Frog, maybe Ella from Ella Enchanted. I feel like Éowyn from Lord of the Rings could be another. These characters all have like resilience. Despite adversity, they stay hopeful, they're kind, and they have like some kind of transformation that helps them to like have a better life in the end.
Mhm.
So thinking of characters that you can explore that maybe are, similar but different. Um, so
Mhm.
then you can, find scripts to play with those characters. And here's another thing though. You can try just improving as those characters,
Yeah.
right? So, if you said like, okay, I'm going to try like Harry Potter, I feel like could be similar to Cinderella, actually. Now that I think about it, like at the beginning of his life, I'm like,
Uh-huh.
Harry's kind of similar to Cinderella. So you could just improvise, be like, if I was Harry Potter, how could I improvise? Maybe it's when you first meet Hagrid or something, and you're like telling him about your life before and how you hope for a better future. And so you're so excited to go on this adventure and get out of that house. And
Yeah.
so you can just do like an improv scene as well, which also is
Okay.
going to help you with crafting a scene, with
Uh-huh.
exploring a character, with thinking on your feet, with having changes, right? And if you pick a person you're talking to, you can even kind of like imagine what would they say in response and then respond to that. So I think
Mhm.
improving could also be another good exercise this week, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome work today.
Thank you.
Alrighty. I think the next time I see you, we were going to try to meet in person. So that would be pretty cool.
Okay.
But if not, then, if we keep meeting virtually, that's all right too. So whatever is
Okay.
most convenient. So I'll touch base with your mom and make sure we've got that scheduled because I think we have three more sessions after this that she's
Okay.
already booked. So I'll confirm with her and I'll see you again soon. Okay.
Okay.
Great work
Perfect. Thank you very
today.
much.
All right, bye-bye. Yes, thank you too.
Bye.
Great energy, great just diving in with both feet, just being like, "All right, let's try it." I love your attitude and being open. It's really fun to work with you. So, that's a really good trait because directors want to see that, that you're open and that you're like, "Let's try it," and experimenting with the characters and whatnot. So really, really fun to work with you. So I'll see you
Thank you so
soon,
much.
okay?
See you soon.
Absolutely.
Bye.